that's where the idea came for the state flower. And of course, the legislature gets to choose what the state flower is. So um, anyway, that was the answer to our trivia question. And Christina, we'll wait for your go signal and tell us when we should get started today.
Yes, yeah, everybody, we're all set. Go ahead to IFU's Facebook page if you want to watch or share the recording immediately. Later on, it will be posted to IFU's YouTube page. But Aaron, go ahead and get us started.
Well, great. Well, welcome everyone. This is the Iowa Farmers Union Lunch and Learn series, and we are very grateful to be joined today by our guest, Beth Hoffman, who will talk about the At the Farm Table podcast. Thank you for being with us, Beth. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Aaron. It's called At the Iowa Farm Table, so I just want to be sure that people find it if you're looking on Apple or anywhere else that you look for podcasts. So we'll get back to that.
That's right. That's right. Well, great. Well, we'll have a wonderful conversation, and I want to first to give a couple of announcements about some upcoming Farmers Union activities. We've got a lot of great things going on in the Farmers Union world right now. We're encouraging people to come to the Iowa Farmers Union Day at the Iowa State Fair. In addition to our booth just down the hall from the Butter Cow in the Ag Building, which is there every day of the Iowa State Fair, we also have a special day of the Iowa State Fair. Iowa Farmers Union is sponsoring the first Sunday of the fair, August 10th, and we have a fantastic space along the main concourse of the Iowa State Fair, right in front of the admin building. And it is a fantastic opportunity to talk about Farmers Union values and with lots of wonderful Farmers Union people, with all the fair goers at the Iowa State Fair. We have a lot of different stations for people to experience different pieces of Iowa agriculture and family farm agriculture and our food system here in Iowa. And we have excellent opportunity to do some wonderful outreach. So if you're interested in volunteering, we really could use you. We need everyone we can get. So come to the Iowa Farmers Union, volunteer for the Iowa Farmers Union Day at the fair, or volunteer for one of the other days at the fair where we have a booth in the Ag Building. We're looking forward to it very, very much. We're going to have a great time. In addition to that, the Iowa Farmers Union is preparing a team of farmers and other rural residents to go to Washington, D.C. that advocate for Farmers Union policies with policy leaders there on Capitol Hill and various agencies in Washington, D.C. We have a great group that's going, and we'd love to have more. In fact, we get about 300 or 400 people from around the country who go to Washington, D.C. every year for the fly-in for Farmers Union. So if you want to learn more about it, contact me at the email in the chat. We're looking forward to a great Iowa delegation going. So, and I also think that also wanted to mention that we have some partners who are working on a very special field day. The 2025 Midwest Mechanical Weed Control Field Day is taking place August 20th in Ames. We wanted to make sure we announce that. There is a sign-up linkage in the chat. So learn more about it and make your plans accordingly for August 20th for that. But we are so grateful to turn our attention to our topic today. Our guest is Beth Hoffman, farmer, journalist, author of Bet the Farm, and host of the podcast At the Iowa Farm Table. And we are so happy that she's here to talk about that project, and because the podcast explores the complexities and opportunities within our food and farming systems here. And it talks with farmers, food system leaders, change makers, and reflects the mission of the Iowa Food System Coalition. And we are such proud members and supporters of the Iowa Food System Coalition. And so, Beth, you bring such a wealth of experience and knowledge to this place and to the Farmers Union. Thank you for serving the Iowa Farmers Union on our board, and thank you for being here today. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Aaron. I really appreciate it. I it's like we all support the farmers union, but the farmers union is also so supportive of all the people, like myself, who come through and get this opportunity to speak to people. So I really appreciate that.
Well, tell us a little bit more about your background, Beth. A lot of people know your work, but they might not know your full background, and how you've come to this place with all of the work converging at this time. So, give us a review of your background.
Yeah, well, I was born in Queens, New York, and
Uh-huh.
up, um, I grew up mainly in New Jersey, and went to college in Atlanta, lived in Colorado and in Utah, then went to grad school for journalism in California at Berkeley, and studied under Michael Pollan, was one of my professors.
Mm.
And at the time, I thought, I had been doing food journalism. I kind of went to grad school to be able to teach and have a master's, but I ended up, studying under him. And how do you not continue on doing food reporting with Michael Pollan as a mentor? So I stuck with that, and then I taught at the university. So I started doing a lot of radio, I should say at this point. And did a lot of freelance work for different shows. I did in Salt Lake City a series about food culture and kind of environmental issues about food. And freelanced for kind of all the different shows, a lot for like The World and Living on Earth and those kinds of places. So that's kind of the style of audio I had learned, and podcasting. And then I was at the University of San Francisco. I taught mostly audio production and advanced audio, things like that. So audio, audio, audio. My email is Beth Audio. Um, and so I started doing work after I wrote the book, and we've been farming. We're kind of settled in, and I have been very involved in for example, like Aaron mentioned, on the board at IFU. And Jan Libby asked me to do some work with the Iowa Food System Coalition, and so I helped to write the plan that's setting the table for all Iowans, which is on the website there, which is a very lengthy, but very kind of it's a blueprint for how we can move forward in the food system and make it more just and sustainable, and healthy for Iowans. So we really focused on food farming for one, and trying to there's 9 different teams, the priority teams. The policy is one of them that IFU has been very involved with, and Tommy Hexter, for example. But there's also labor and business development. And so all different kinds of people have come together for this, and it's thrilling. And so I actually, I got really excited about the idea of us working together, because, everybody doing their own little project, while it's great to kind of influence people in the state one by one, it's also great to have the ability to work in like a much larger setting. So I think that's my background.
Absolutely, and tell us about the farm and
Oh, yes,
how.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my husband John and I moved back here to take over his family's farm. It's 570 acres now. His dad did conventional farming here. But
Mhm.
when we came back, John left and he went to culinary school. So he became a chef. He was a chef. He was a wine buyer. He was a produce buyer. Then he was a butcher for 12 years before we came back here. So he kind of was in San Francisco throughout the period of huge change in the food system
Mm.
in California. And so he really got to see how people, customers, consumers became very interested in local food and how food was raised. So by the time we got back here, with my reporting and experience on a lot of different farms and places throughout the world, actually, I got to go to and see, we weren't that interested in the conventional model. It just didn't fit with the idea that we would, work really hard and then it would just kind of go away on a truck and we wouldn't have any relationship with our consumers. And so that's something that we wanted to do, is have really direct relationships. So we've been raising grass finished beef for many years now. That's going very well. We have goats. We have a young woman who it looks like is going to come move here and work with us and take over the goat operation. We have another young man who's doing small grains on the farm. We have a group of African refugees who are working with us, and Barbara is here in this call I saw. She's helping us with that. So we're trying to, form a community around our farm. We feel really strongly like it's not just the growing that needs to shift, but it's the culture around it that really needs to shift in this state. Um, and I think more and more people are interested, so that's really the good news.
Absolutely. And that brings us right into the podcast because it touches on all those different pieces that are kind of you've talked about with your farm and with agriculture in general. But the podcast touches on all sorts of cultural, social, economic, ecological pieces. So expand on the work of the podcast.
Yeah. So I guess, we've started thinking about a podcast, and I don't know if my colleagues, Mallory DeVries, is I work closely with in communications for the Food System Coalition, and Chris Schwartz, also our executive director. There was this talk about we should have a podcast because we have like 50 partners that work in the Food Coalition. So wouldn't it be great to highlight all of them, since that's our role as communications people? Um, but I really didn't want to do a podcast where I was just sort of interviewing somebody and they're telling me about their organization, which, while all the work is incredibly important and interesting, that kind of style of podcast was just not that interesting to me to listen to.
Mhm.
So I, thought about it and how could this work, that we could actually do something that was a little bit different. So now we're doing things topically. So for example, I did one about nitrates in the water, which Aaron was a part of. So we can bring in our partners to discuss topics at hand, but we can also have it be much more dynamic, where there's kind of storytelling and narration and guests and music, and kind of trying to meld that all together. So, and then we can also keep our topics really fluid and address things that are very current, like nitrates, or like the summer feeding program with the governor's Healthy Kids Iowa. Um, or like now we just did one about sweet corn. So we can be really very nimble in what we are addressing.
Well, and that's a very good topic to bring up. Everyone loves sweet corn. We identify with it so closely here in Iowa. And so you chose that as kind of a vehicle to tell the story about some food system pieces all the way from the farm all the way to the consumer in that particular podcast. It was a fascinating look. And for people who may not have seen it yet, it highlights some really important partners in the state and some really important systems in the state. So expand on that particular podcast, because it might be one that will come to the top of people's list if they look up the podcast on their search engine.
Yeah. So it's one of those things when you're doing journalism of any kind, you kind of get sick of talking about all the things that are wrong in the world, right? You want to talk about some of the things that are really right in the world. And the fact that Iowa grows this amazing sweet corn, I mean, arguably the best sweet corn in the world, right? When we all feel passionate about that. So I talked to Dandy Farms, which is here in Knoxville, not far from where I live, and went out there with the pickers in the morning, and so kind of recorded all of that and why. And that story was really touching. The story about how the family actually got into sweet corn to get themselves out. It was what they called, it would help them heal from the farm crisis, where they
Mm,
had kind of lost so much and had been so caught up in the taking out more loans and debt and all of this, that sweet corn, he said to me, Dan said, it was the first time that I set the price for what I was growing and I sold directly to the customer, and how liberating that was and exciting.
mm, mhm.
So, and then I talked to somebody who knew more, Darcy Malsby, who knows more about the history of corn in the state. But we used to be a canning. We used to be like a major corn, sweet corn and canning kind of place. So yeah, it was really exciting. It was a great story to do that. And I guess somebody's asking about, where to find it. You can actually find it on any kind of format that you listen to podcasts if you do. So Apple, Spotify, you just type in at the Iowa Farm Table, or there's a Substack. And if you join that Substack, then you can get other things that we're doing with the Food System Coalition, like more one-on-one interviews that Chris Schwartz is doing, and some other kinds of materials are there. And Christina.
Excellent. And remind people, I mean, there are a number already on tap, so people can get caught up, but they can get caught up fairly quickly. They're very fun listens and very informative. You'll want to share them with people after you listen to them. I had a list of people I wanted to share this with after listening to them, Beth. So how many have we done so far? It's a new venture, but we're really on the road.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna say 10, maybe even. Yeah, we've covered quite a lot. Like we've started, they come out every other week. So there's ones about the cuts to farm to school programs, those kinds of issues, and kind of talking with some of the people in the schools and how that's really impacting them and the producers. We've done, now I'm gonna draw a blank on all 10 of them, but we've done a range of different things. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, maybe
And
you
how,
remember some of them.
oh yeah, but I mean they all fit within
Yeah.
the priorities of the Food System Coalition. So how do you think this podcast is a unique way to communicate with people with the goals of the Food System Coalition month?
Yeah, I think that, and I should mention, I guess they're about 15 minutes long, so they're not like
Mhm.
a huge commitment of time. They hopefully move along the whole time, so you're not getting bored in the middle. But so they are they're digestible in that way. But I think, it's a very interesting question, because as a coalition, right, there's things that we all agree about and things that are going to be more questionable. Where does it fit, with everybody's perspective? And I think that as a journalist, one of my skills that I'm bringing this is that I'm really trying to present the facts about it, right? Like the nitrates one, I mean, there could be, and people did on Facebook, like wrote all sorts of random things. I don't think they had listened to it, but they kind of just were like, why are you blaming the farmer? And like, there's not blame that's really happening in there. I mean, I talk with you, Aaron.
Mhm.
I'm just laying out the facts from the state geologist about how does this actually work, and how are there nitrates in there, and what is the implications for our groundwater throughout the state. So I'm trying to, yeah, so the how it fits in is that we have a real focus on food farming, on talking about local and why that's important. And so I think that those are topics that yeah, all the partners in the coalition feel really strongly, and that setting the table for all Iowans, that document really is our
Right.
our guide for all of this. So
That's right. So much, and we had so much input into that document that, um, and it really is a comprehensive feel to it. So we're getting a question asking, if I have an idea for a fun podcast, how should they reach out? How could they suggest that idea?
if you could put my email, I mean, you can email me about ideas. I guess that yeah, they have to be sort of dynamic ideas, not just one perspective, obviously. And
Hmm.
there's topics, quite honestly, we probably won't do because of that, range of organizations that are involved in the coalition.
Hmm.
Some of them we might do as sort of saying, hey, this is like a real question. Should this be something that we want in Iowa? Should we, do we not? So I'm open to all ideas. We have kind of a good layout of what we're going to do really for the rest of the year almost, but it's pretty
Hmm.
fluid. So when there's important topics that are coming up, um, we are putting them in, right away.
Well, give us a sneak preview of what's upcoming. What are you working on now, and what should people be looking for?
So our coverage of the state fair is going to be specifically about dairy because we started
Ah,
wondering about that
okay.
dairy cow and what else about dairy in the state is being celebrated. So I'm actually going to the competition, which is going to be judged tomorrow at ISU at the Creamery.
Ah,
And I will go to the awards ceremony. And thinking about that kind of smallish scale dairy and how the history of that in the state. We'll also do one about the importance of diversification in the state and why do we need different kinds of crops growing here, besides all of that corn sweating and all of us sweating as a result. But that's one reason, but there's a lot of reasons. So there's a lot of different partners that are doing great work on that we can talk about. And we have an exciting one that we're thinking about for Thanksgiving, which is about turkeyization or chickenization, how it's become these really large chicken and turkey facilities and what that means for producers who grow, who raise them in a much smaller setting and how how that's changed over the years here.
absolutely. So, uh, what's been a surprising aspect of the work as you've entered it? I'm sure with your experience, you had some pretty good ideas of how this might go. But I'm curious if there are some conversations or some developments that have been surprising as you come into the work.
Yeah, I think that again, as a journalist, I'm always looking for, I kind of call that like the dog years when you're like, what? When you hear something, you're like, I didn't know that. And I always think, okay, if I don't know that at this point of covering agriculture for 30 years, most people don't know that. So that's what I'm always going to focus on. And I mean, I teach that about storytelling and writing just generally, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to listen and be surprised or learn something new. So I don't want any of the podcasts to be like you start it and you're thinking, oh, sweet corn is going to be blah, blah, blah. No, I want it to be surprising throughout, and to kind of learn something. So even just that idea, like there was, I forget the number right now, but let's say 50 canneries in the
Yeah.
state. Like, what? Who knew that? So
Right.
that's, exciting and interesting to me. And the idea that we that sweet corn, we all go out of our way to get it. It's not an easy thing to just go to the supermarket. You got to find that stand and you have that relationship for years. That's where you get sweet corn. It's the best one ever. And we could do that about so many different products in
Right.
this state. That just is makes me so hopeful that it's we have we have part of that culture already within our state.
And that really is there's such an optimism with the podcasts, and what brings you the most optimism as you think of where this is going next and where the Food System Coalition's work next?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I just feel like, especially politically now, right? And you look around, there's so many things I mean, we could all talk for days about everything that's wrong, right? But
Mhm.
people are aligned in wanting less chemicals, less pesticides, less ingredients, less processing, and more local food. I think
Mm,
that's like, it's prevalent. It's moved into popular media, popular culture. And we're running these events at our farm, dinners and classes and things, and people are just having a blast, not only because the food is good, but because they're surrounded by people who care about this same thing. And
right.
it's so powerful. And the work the coalition is doing on any given topic, we're like, boom, we can get a letter, press release with like 6 quotes from all these different organizations in a day.
Right.
It's really powerful. So I'm super excited about that.
And some wonderful momentum, and this has been a really fast conversation, Beth, and remind people how to reach out to learn more. First, they can go to at the Iowa Farm Table and learn about it there at that link that's in the chat. But other ways they can reach out.
Yeah, so my email is there too. I can see Christina put that
Right.
there. And then on the Iowa Food System Coalition, you can read the Setting the Table for All Iowans, but we also have a local food promise that's going on right now that you can sign up for, which just means that you're promising to spend a certain percentage, a certain number of dollars each week of your food budget on local food, and you're going to make that commitment. And then Christina's sending newsletters out about that, if once you've signed up, that help you find local food. There's recipes on their Grow Eat Play campaign from Healthy Harvest of North Iowa. There's so many good recipes there for everything that's in season. You can look it up by vegetable. So there's a lot of resources out there. So she's kind of, once you sign up for the promise, it comes to you directly each week. So I think it's a super helpful resource.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for the time, Beth. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate the work so much that you're doing, both in the Farmers Union space and with the Food System Coalition, this wonderful podcast, and all that you do on your farm. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great.
Well, everyone, this has been the Iowa Farmers Union Lunch and Learn, and this is part of our ongoing effort to bring the message of family farming, sustainable agriculture, thriving rural communities, and healthy landscapes to our members and to the public. And we can only do this by working together. So if you haven't had a chance yet, consider joining the Iowa Farmers Union. Consider being a supporter of the Iowa Farmers Union. All this work is only possible by coming together and making it happen. And so we appreciate your efforts so far, but consider becoming a member if you haven't had a chance to already. I'm going to remind people that we have a great day going on at the Iowa State Fair on August 10th. All sorts of fantastic activities at the Iowa State Fair, Iowa Farmers Union Day. We're going to have sweet corn eating contests, food safety and salsa making stations, a photo booth, that's also all sorts of farm fun, a hay baling rolling competition, lots of tailgate conversations, and so much more. So please consider coming. Please consider being a volunteer. If you volunteer, you get a ticket to the fair and a Talk Dirt to Me Iowa Farmers Union t-shirt and all sorts of fun. So with that, I think we are going to tie it up today. But again, thank you, Beth. Christina, again, thank you as always for bringing us all together. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.